Welcome to Manna at the Tap, a podcast of Tapestry Ministries. Each episode reflects on a daily Bible reading from the Revised Common Lectionary. I'm Gloria, a fellow traveler on this spiritual journey with the Tapestry community, and we refer to the daily Bible reading as our spiritual manna, nourishing our souls and fostering growth as we share insights and interpretations that enrich our spiritual lives. Friday, March the 27th, 2025, marks day 21 of the Lenten journey. Let's continue Joshua's story, the leader God chose after Moses' death to guide his people from desert dwellers to live in the promised homeland. All that stood between the people in the desert and their promised homeland was the Jordan River. Its banks were overflowing, but God miraculously gathered the water into a mound, causing the riverbed to dry up, allowing the people to walk on dry ground to the other side. For 40 years in the desert, Joshua served as Moses' assistant, his right-hand man. But after Moses' death, God called Joshua to lead the people, assuring him that he was not alone, but that God would be with him. All he needed to do was listen to and obey God's word without allowing fear to paralyze him. God's people did listen to and obey Joshua. And once safely on the other side, Joshua chose 12 men, one from each family group, to return and collect a stone, creating a mound of the 12 stones to be known as the stones of remembering. The podcast question on March 27th, 2025 was, what did the stones mean? Here's the answer. The stones would serve as a memorial for people to remember what happened when they stood between the desert and the promised homeland. And whenever children saw the stones of remembering, they could ask their parents, what do these stones mean? The parents were to share the story of how God miraculously brought them through the Jordan River. And they were to tell the story in a way that would engage the children until it became their own story. Now, this is an ancient story, and to help us put it into perspective today, think of it as being akin to a parent retrieving old photograph albums, reminiscing over the pictures with their children, and recounting the stories they remember about the people in the images. How about you? Do you see yourself in this story about Joshua? Have you ever hesitated to take on a leadership role because you've compared yourself to the former leader, or you were worried that no one would listen to you or follow your instruction? The story of Joshua can become your story. God told Joshua that he would be with him, not giving up on him or leaving him. Joshua was to listen to the instructions God had given to Moses, and he should not get off track, but always remember God's words. Joshua was to give it everything he had, putting his heart and soul into it. And when Joshua recognized that fear was creeping over him, he was to remember what God had done in the past. He was to remember that God was with Moses on the night they left Egypt. And he was to recall how God miraculously parted the Red Sea so they could walk across on dry land. And he was to remember how Miriam, Moses' sister, waited for them on the other side in the desert, encouraging the people to keep coming, while Moses was behind them, urging them to keep going. Joshua was to remember the 40 years in the desert when God miraculously provided them with daily manna and a rock that followed them, supplying water for both the people and their cattle. On that day, as the 12 men from the family groups set up their stones of remembering by the water's edge, Joshua walked into the center of the riverbed. He created his own 12 stones of remembering. He paused. He praised and worshiped God in the middle of the riverbed. And he recalled God's faithfulness to him in the past. Now God was with him at this moment, and God would continue to be with him in the future and would help him overcome his fears and grow into a man of faith who would depend on God's word and God's miraculous works. A mound of stones is just that, unless someone remembers the story behind why the stones are there.